And Carney's trip to the UK also saw him talk a bit about CUSMA, the Canada-US-Mexico agreement that is set to be jointly reviewed by the countries next year.
I think what all of this underscores is the importance of the upcoming review of CUSMA. We're doing our consultations for that as the Americans, as are the Mexicans, and there will be discussions that begin in a few months' time. And our objective is going to be obviously the best deal for Canada, but also to get ourselves in a position where there aren't these specific issues, important issues that are erupting, on an episodic basis, if I can put it that way.
Canada is set to review the agreement on its own in the coming months. The federal government launching public consultations to hear from communities, lawmakers, and industry leaders before a new agreement is negotiated with the U.S. and Mexico. In the more immediate lens, Carney says he spoke with U.S. President Donald Trump earlier this week in New York, that meeting coming around the same time Washington imposed tariffs on pharmaceutical goods.
We're engaged with the U.S. In ongoing discussions on some of those specific strategic areas. Those conversations are ongoing. I had a higher level conversation with the president a few days ago.
The latest tariffs would see 100% import taxes on pharmaceutical drugs, along with duties on other kitchen and bathroom items, furniture, and heavy trucks. And let's bring in our CTV News political commentator, Scott Reid. Scott, thanks as always for joining us.
Morning, Roger.
Your thoughts on what we heard from Carney this morning about this trip and what he feels are the successes of it?
Yeah, you can really see the Prime Minister straining, working hard to shift the focus away, the focus of his trip, of course, shifted away from talk of diplomacy and dialogue, try to bring it down to something a little more granular, like talking about winning business, building jobs, creating economic security for Canadians at home. And so you can see him talking much more concretely in those terms, trying to say this trip is worthwhile, the past trips have been worthwhile, and future trips will be worthwhile. And I do think that's why he also brought up the subject of CUSMA, because it focuses the mind of Canadians on our economic future and the security of our industry and our employment.
And is that one of his strengths, talking to businesses and leaders like that? More so than the political side?
Certainly, well, I can't take too much away from the guy on the political side. He blew into the scene and won an election out of nowhere. But yeah, I think you're right, and I think the secret to his political success is that he seems to suit the setting of world leader, of a calm, capable manager in these turbulent, uneasy times. And being on that stage helps him. He is going to get, and has gotten on this trip, more and more questions about, well, where are the results, and when can we get results, and how does all of this add up to something better? And again, I go back to, I think that's why he invoked CUSMA, because it really does provoke people's sense of economic self-interest, because we know, like just regular folk on the street know, that if we can't keep some kind of structured free trade agreement between ourselves, the United States, and Mexico, then that's going to put a lot of jobs and a lot of employment in peril.
And are we turning our focus now? I mean, with all the tariffs and everything that's gone on, is the government now turning its focus to realistically saying, you know what, let's work on CUSMA and resolve all of this at the same time, or hopefully resolve all of this at the same time?
Yeah, the challenge, of course, is that what we want may not be how things unfold. So you see the government trying to do a couple of things simultaneously. In part, he's there because he does need to diversify Canada's trading options and make certain that we build greater links with the UK, with Europe. Similarly, in other venues that we'd be reaching out. Earlier in the week, he was signing a free trade agreement with Indonesia. So that's one track, if you will. The other track is recognizing the reality of how huge and how vital the U.S. market is for Canadians and for Canadian industry, shifting the focus away from these one-off fights that we've been having on particular sectors and trying to preserve the very concept and the structured deal and the protection that affords us of North American free trade, of the CUSMA agreement. The challenge, of course, is we cannot be sure that Donald Trump cares to preserve North American free trade. There might be, one could argue, every indication that he does not. And that, I think, is also why you see Mark Carney talking so fervently about this, trying to prioritize it.
Okay, Scott, thanks as always for your insight.
Thanks, Roger.
CTV News political commentator Scott Reid.